Today, I'm joined by my good friend Charlie, who's a brilliant menswear designer. After working with some global brands like Tommy Hilfiger and Boden, in 2022, he started his own label, Raker. Raker blends traditional workwear with a punk influence. The pieces are as bold as they are timeless. Every piece is made in the UK by long-standing British mills and family-run factories, with care and quality at the heart of everything that they do. I personally love their jumpers. You can really feel the quality in the yarn and the versatility of the product. I'm so excited to have Charlie with me today to speak about design, creativity, and building something of your own. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem, Lizzie.
How are you doing?
Good, you?
Good. So I know you've worked with some huge brands such as Tommy Hilfiger and Boden. What were the biggest lessons that you took from this?
A lot, to be honest. Good and bad things. You get to meet some great people, talented people. You also learn to take criticism, not personally. You could think something's the best idea in the world, present it to a room full of people. They'll tell you it's not commercial, which just basically means it's shit. So you can learn your craft in that kind of way where, because you're going through the seasons repetitively, you're really getting to know fabric, really getting to know design, constantly being surrounded by inspiration. You travel a lot, so you're also experiencing different cultures. So you definitely learn a lot in a kind of condensed short period of time.
What's the design process like when you start from concept, when you were working at places like that?
So it's funny, really, because you're just like a cog in a wheel, really. There's so many other people above you and below you. So someone will come up with the initial concept, and it's your job to kind of work into it. You can look at what you've been researching and present something, but it has to really stay strict to the story or really stay strict to the brand. Like Tommy Hilfiger has its distinct style, that old Americana kind of feel. As much as you think something's a good idea, you constantly have to think what the brand is all about at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Did you feel like it was kind of limiting then because there was such strict brand guidelines that if you felt like you wanted to go further with a piece, you might not be able to do that?
It is a bit, but I feel like that's where the kind of yearning to start your own thing starts, because you're always thinking, if I could do something like that. Or like one of the things where always in the back of my mind is always thinking, if I was just doing this for myself, or if I put as much time and effort and energy into doing this is my own thing as I am for doing this, I would surely kind of at least make a good go of it at the very least. But yeah, to be honest, you do feel quite limited at times. And I feel like because you're having to go through so many layers of hierarchy in a system, you're not necessarily designing anything. You're essentially getting told what to design.
Did you always know that you wanted to start your own thing, or did it come kind of naturally after these experiences?
I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to be involved in clothes, just in general, because that's just always what I've been into. One of the biggest things was when I was growing up was, I don't know if you know, there's a shop in York called Sarah Coggles. Did you ever go there?
No, I never went, no.
It was basically two shops. It would sell some of like the top brands at the time. I think it started in the late 80s, but when I was going, it was sort of like the early 2000s. So it would be brands like Paul Smith, APC, Belstaff. To be honest, at the time, I didn't really register the kind of brands. It's quite a cool story, actually, because the shop was actually named after, I believe it was the lady that opened it. Her husband had an affair with his secretary. So she named the shop after the lady that she had an affair with, as like a constant reminder to them two every time they would walk past it.
That's so funny.
But me going there when I was younger, it was looking through the clothes. It was also the people that worked there and seeing what they were wearing. I actually just wanted to work in there. That sort of like planted the seed, if you know what I mean. But as far as actually wanting to start my own brand, it got more and more something that I wanted to do when I was I've never really been chasing the kind of promotion. Obviously, I would like to have been promoted because, financially it's better and it gives you more opportunities, but I was just never really cut out for that. And I always just thought I'd rather just do something like that was creative rather than climbing a corporate ladder, because I think one of the biggest kind of shocks for me was when you kind of graduate from university, you've done this final collection, you've been making stuff for years, or like learning how to make stuff while studying, and then you essentially go into an office job. You're sat behind a computer all day, and even when you first start out, you might just be researching for the people who hire up. And I remember thinking, God, this is like kind of not what I thought. You'd be sat around a big, like table, fabric everywhere, just that kind of thing. But it was a bit of a shock, really. But now, having set up my own thing, you really appreciate that everybody has their role when you're working for these bigger brands, because you go from doing just your small little bit, which is like design for me, to there's people who are the pattern people, there's people who will look into the fabric sourcing and the trims and deal with the factories, there's the buyers and merchandisers and all that kind of stuff. And obviously beyond that, there's the customer service people, the website people, social medias, everything. Whereas when you're on your own, you're literally on your own, you do it all yourself. Packaging orders even, storing it at home. So it was something I'd always wanted to do, but I was probably naive in the fact that you underestimate that the design part is literally just a small percentage of the rest of it. It's a lot of it's like admin and everything else.
That is such a common thread that I've heard from so many people that I've spoken to, because obviously they've started their small business because they're experts in what they do,
Yeah.
which is, you know, in your case, design, or it might be being a florist, or, you know, anything really. But then you have to do absolutely everything else, which must be tough. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. It's just endless. There's just always something to do. But at the same time, it's something you've always wanted to do. So if it means working, you know, in an evening or on weekends or whatever, it's like cliche, but you really don't see it as work because you're doing it for yourself. So yeah, it's not a negative in that respect.
How did you get the idea for Raker?
So I've thought about it a lot, and it's two things really. It's like every kind of idea you've ever had, you can put into your own thing, which in my case, because it's always been music and clothes rather than fashion, if that makes sense. I've never really been into fashion. I'm not very good at like designers' names or collections, or people might say, have you seen so-and-so's latest show? I'm just not really interested in it, to be honest. I've always just, especially with Raker, I started it just wanting it to be how I wanted to do it, not necessarily influenced by what's on trend or what other people are doing, which can be hard, especially when you're looking on, you know, when you're having to do your own social media and you're looking online and other people are doing stuff. And there is, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, oh, maybe I should have done that, or maybe they're getting further with it, or maybe they know this person or do this, but you just really have to block it out and not think about that kind of thing. So as far as like what the idea came from it, it was basically, we'd been living in Amsterdam, working for Tommy Hilfiger, and I feel like there was a degree of missing British culture. As much as the countries are close, they're culturally very different. And I was really starting to appreciate not just sort of like, obviously not, I wasn't missing British made products or anything, but I would really kind of recognise the importance or the influence that British culture has. So when I decided to start the brand, I always had in my mind it would be something like the Dr. Martens of clothes, where it isn't necessarily appealing to a target audience, but it's something that anybody could wear, and it's like a distinct thing. It's not too outlandish, it's not too in your face or anything, but it's hinting towards somebody who's got an interest in certain things.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because I feel like with your clothes, it's very capsule, isn't it? The collections that you have. And you have such a signature style, which are the stripes and the contrasting colours. And you can really tell that it has that punk feel to it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have that whole look to wear it. And it's menswear, but I feel like it's so versatile, because I'll wear it and, you know, your girlfriend Abby will wear it.
Yeah, anybody can wear it. And I do actually have a lot of like female customers. As much as it is menswear, it's never really marketed as just menswear. I think what people don't underestimate, or people do underestimate, is just to have a certain product, there's so much development that goes into it. You have to get your different blocks for the fit, the graded sizes for the fit. Same with the jackets, it's exactly the same, slightly even more complex. So I really just kind of had to focus on one target audience, which I guess is menswear, but in essence it's not really a menswear brand. Anybody can buy it, and it's not like one day there won't be women's wear part of it. But
I hear what you're saying, because now everyone wears whatever they want. I don't necessarily think it has to be menswear or women's wear, because I'll wear so many menswear pieces, or you know, go to many like menswear designers, because I like that fit and I like that kind of oversized looking fit. And I know that a lot of other women do that, or people do that. So yeah, I get it. I don't think it needs to be cautioned off like that. I know that Raker draws from both punk and workwear. How did those two influences come together?
I was always really into punk music. Well, not particularly just the music, but I was always fascinated by it when I was younger. The music itself, but also the way they looked. I was always kind of like, what is going on? You look at like the Sex Pistols, Sid Vicious, The Clash. That was like my first introduction to it. And then I kind of started to look into denim more when I was studying. And I was more into that fabric. And then I then started to learn more about workwear jackets and French chore jackets and vintage denim and stuff in America and Japan and stuff like that. And tried to kind of merge them both together. I had quite an inspirational art teacher at school. I actually had two art teachers at school who were like a big influence. Pete Edwards and Dave Swales, shout out. But they would teach me about people who I just had kind of like photographers and artists. For example, Martin Parr, who is like a massive inspiration to me and the brand, where his kind of focus is just the normal stuff, but the way he shoots it is kind of amazing. Other things like Richard Billingham was a photographer who he introduced me to, which is kind of like another thing where it's a bit like punk almost, where you're looking at it, looking at the pictures. It's a lot to your brain to process. I tried to like merge the worlds, and then another thing that they were teaching me about was the YBA artists in the 90s, like Damien Hirst and Tracy Emin, people like that. So I really got into realizing that art isn't just about painting and stuff like that. It's more, there's like a whole other kind of like modern art that was a huge influence. And then I just tried to slowly merge and kind of pull everything together. I feel like now I've got to the point where all the little things and all the little moments of inspiration I've kind of tried to, and still do try to put into the brand, from everything from obviously the design, but the names of each of the products and just everything really. Everything's got a little subtle meaning about everything. So that's probably how the influences all came together.
Yeah, I think that is really interesting because a lot of the time when you don't work in fashion, you don't realize how many references all do come together to create something.
Yeah.
And actually, fashion is just art that you wear.
Yeah.
And it's a way that you show your personality and who you are.
The beauty of the chore, or the history of the chore jacket, is that it would be obviously used for labouring in. So they were constantly being repaired. And that's something that I like to think about my jackets, is if people wear them, it's not just something that they'll wear in certain situations. It's something that they could do anything in, and if it needs like fixing or anything, that could be done or repaired. And there's kind of a lot of longevity and sustainability in that. And then each little mark has its own story. It's like if you play a record and it's got the marks on it or anything, or it crackles or anything. That's like a little mark that someone's made from listening to it before. And it's the same with the jackets. It's kind of each little thing that's on it, it's all got its own story.
I love that, yeah. Because people say, when you wrinkle or scar, that's a sign of what you've been through in your life. Because obviously when you're pregnant, you might get stretch marks, and that's to show that you've done that.
Yeah.
Like if you get laughter lines, that's because you've been smiling. That's a really sweet way to think about it. I'd never thought about it before like that.
I've just always been kind of really intrigued by it. From that, which is more on brand, but when post-punk bands like Joy Division that were inspired by or came from the punk movement, but they weren't wearing the really punk clothes, or they weren't known for wearing the super in-your-face safety pin clothes. And so that was way more what I was interested in. But like more to the point, like I said earlier, I've never really been interested in fashion itself. It was more bands and what bands were wearing, which I was always interested in, which I guess is where a lot of the inspiration for the clothes that I make comes from.
I really liked the point that you made about Doc Martens and also Vivienne Westwood, because I think they're really two good references to have, because with both of them, you can look at them and instantly you recognise the brands. And I know that most brands are trying to do that, but I can really see that with Raker as well. You've got such a signature style. You'll look at Vivienne Westwood and straight away you know that's Vivienne Westwood because of the draping. It doesn't need to have a logo on it or anything, or even just that kind of like punk style. I love that you've chosen that as your references.
With a lot of the clothes, it's not something that will generally go out of style.
Yeah.
It will stay due to the nature of the look of it. It's like a timeless style.
I think that's so rare to get nowadays, because I feel like with social media, we cycle through trends so quickly.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's been a loss of individual style nowadays, because before I felt like everyone was more individualistic in what they wore. Whereas now I think it's like there's this new sneaker that you buy,
Yeah.
or there's this new top that's really popular. I just really like that idea of slowing down and keeping the style personal to you.
Yeah.
Because I want it to be that if someone looks at me, they'll be like, oh, that's such a Lizzie thing to wear.
It's also interesting the amount of people who will send me, like customers will send an email or a message to say, this is like something I had back in the day and I lost it and I was really gutted about it, or it broke, or anything like that, and I've been looking for this all my life, or like crazy stuff that people
Yeah.
will send. But it's nice, really, because it's nice to provide that for people. Naturally, I feel like the people who are buying into it and like it are people who I'd like had in mind anyway. Not to like cut anybody out, because anybody can buy it, but that's probably the nice thing that's come from it. Most people who send you a message or anything have got something really positive to say about it, which is good.
It's so nice when you find that your customers align with the vision that you had, because obviously when you create any brand, you create it with a particular type of customer in mind.
Yeah.
And that isn't to say, like you said, that anyone can wear it, but you're creating for them because you're thinking what else might they wear it with, and what seasons would they wear it with, what situations as well. It's really nice to know that that came through from when you imagined that.
Well, that's probably one of the things I'm most proud about it and happy about it, is that the plan kind of worked. Because, I mean, before I even started to sell it, it took, I think, about a year to a year and a half to set up.
Wow.
It was like so much work, but it's not, obviously the product itself getting made actually doesn't take too long. It's kind of really hammering home the concept of what it's all about and how it's going to be shot, and all that kind of stuff is like so important, because the product comes when it comes. It's just not to overcomplicate it as well. It's to keep it relatively simple.
Now we live in an age of fast fashion, and people do rush those design processes.
Yeah.
And can you tell when that comes through?
Yeah, because I think nowadays people will comment on something if it's kind of sustainable or recycle, which is obviously really important, but there's an importance in the quality of design, because if something looks really good and people love it, then they're not going to throw it away, or they'll hand it down to somebody, which is in its own way sustainable as well. Because just as because something's recycled and sustainable, it's made of like all these fabrics, which is great, but if it's not a nice designed product, then people aren't going to keep it. So I feel like that is one of the super important things. Well, I try to stick to anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that you chose to have all your products made in the UK.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind that decision?
A few things. When I started it, it was because, well, what I thought at the time was the convenience of dealing with an English or British factory, which obviously there are a number of British factories, but they are hard to find. They don't necessarily have a website, or even might have like a BT, Cellnet, internet, or AOL, like email address, where you just know that if you send them an email, they're just never going to reply.
It'll just get lost.
It'll just get lost, or they won't even open it. Or even if you look through supplier websites, it's quite an archaic system, which is no fault of theirs, but that's just kind of the reality of it. It is a complete minefield to kind of find a supplier who will work with you to kind of begin with, before you've even discussed getting anything made or getting a production or anything made. And it took a lot of different suppliers, and honestly so much time trying to find the right people, not even only to work with, who would actually be up for helping you, which fortunately in the end managed to definitely do with the knitwear. And I think also with working with the UK based factories, because when you like going to Europe, Portugal, Italy, they're known for manufacturing and their fabrics, but post Brexit it's super difficult to work with them unless you need like huge quantities, which as a small independent brand, you just don't need 5,000 meters of fabric before you've even got anything made, because you can't afford to get going. So you have to work between little loopholes. One of the big things is working to meet their minimum order quantity. So you have to work with them in their more quieter periods so that they'll squeeze you in to make some of your products. So there's lots of things like that you can learn along the way. But obviously when they are in the UK, you can visit them. It's much less of a supply chain, You can literally go visit them directly, speak to them about stuff. Whereas if it was in Far East or Europe, it's just not straightforward anymore. And then that's even before import duty and import tax and all that kind of stuff. So it was something that logistically made sense, but it was also something that kind of British made and English made product sells. It's got a unique selling point about it. And again, to go back to Dr. Martens, well, the original Dr. Martens, it was always something that I'd always found really interesting and something that I was really keen to try to make work, which fortunately it has worked. The only thing now is I have to get everything made in England now forever now. But,
yeah, it's
it
part of the brand. Yeah. Plus, it is sustainable. Like we were saying before, just knowing that there's been a lot shorter distance for your product to travel to, and it is that sense of pride, knowing that it's come from where you're from as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was another thing about the brand. As much as it's an English brand, so many London-centric brands.
Yeah.
And I was really keen for it to be like a non-apologetically northern brand. And a lot of the product is made up north. The fabric for the jackets all comes from West Yorkshire. The knitwear's now made in the Midlands. All kind of places where it's not typically known for high fashion or anything like that, which is something that I always really wanted to try to make work. There's so many brands in London, and it's a slightly saturated market, and it's so difficult to get going. So to try to do it up here is something that I'm very happy that it's based up here.
I love that. I think that is so good that you've tried to keep it to the essence of the North because, like you said, there's so many brands based in London, and then there's Barber, they're based in Newcastle, aren't they? And I know that you've mentioned this before because you said that there's another designer that you know of that's just based, just outside of Newcastle. And it must be hard not to feel that pull to go towards London because that's where a lot of brands host their events and do this and that. But actually, there needs to be more here because otherwise that talent just won't come through.
Yeah, exactly. Because I studied in Manchester. Manchester's obviously known for culturally a lot of things, fashion, music. I feel like having studied there, that is something that has probably made me also always want to link it, or particularly Raker, to the North because I saw the importance of it. And another positive is that people are always really supportive if you're trying to do something, like trying to make a go of something, which is always really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I have done things in London, small pop-ups and stuff like that, and people have always been really supportive as well. But yeah, I just quite like the fact that the brand is based up north.
Yeah, because living close to Manchester, because I live in Stockport, and I know people around the area, everyone's so proud of where they come from. It is really nice just showcasing that side, like their fashion and their music and their culture, because it is a bit different to culture down south. What's been the most challenging part of going independent?
It would be things that you never anticipated would happen. For example, the concept and story, once you've got that, that's one thing. But then there's the name, and then more importantly, the naming rights, the intellectual property, and the trademarking, the registering it, which, naively you just kind of personally I looked into, and I thought I was covered for things, which, for example, when I had the name, I'd sorted all the font out and everything. I'd done, Google searches looking for brands that are named. There is actually a German shoe brand with a similar spelling. There was no issues with that. I'd done a lot of research at the beginning, purely through Google searches and stuff like that. Thought I was through it all. And then, to be honest, I got to a point where I'd obviously got products with labels in. It was starting to sell. I was starting to promote it through social media. So I was a year into it, and I was probably trying to not find out because I was thinking the more it goes on, the more it gets out there, the more people will see it and it might become an issue. And then a friend of mine was explaining what you need to do about that kind of thing. I thought, I'll just have a quick look through one of these searches. And then I realised that someone had actually already registered the name. I was like, oh shit. So I looked into what they had registered it for. It was a motorbike brand.
Oh, yeah.
That had basically made a prototype of different city motorbikes. But when they registered the trademark, they'd also registered the name for kind of all the motorcycle bits, but then also for clothing. And they'd done it about, I don't know, like 10 years before. So I was kind of, at that point, I was technically in trouble because they owned the name and I'd been using it. And more crazily was that they had a logo, which, mine was like a unique font and stuff, which I'd got the license for and everything. But they actually had a logo which was quite similar. So I was thinking,
No way.
I'm really going to have to figure this out. And fortunately, I found this service online where you could apply for 30 minutes free chat about everything, and they would then help, or they would tell you how to help it yourself, or they would tell you how they could help you. It was an ongoing process where they had to challenge it, and I was in a fortunate position because they actually hadn't used it or done anything with the clothing part. So in the end, I managed to, for a bit of a fee, had to pay to get the solicitors to sort it out, which was just something that I hadn't anticipated. But I feel like that is something that I always try to tell people now, is that whole side of things you really have to be careful with.
Yeah.
Because especially if you've got, like I was, 18 months into it, and you've already got stuff out there, it's all labelled and stuff, and then to have a full rebrand would have been a massive setback.
It's difficult because you don't know all these legal bits that you need to know, or how you'd go about finding out about something like that. I wouldn't even know how to trademark a company.
No.
And so I can't imagine it's easy. And it's touching on that point that we were saying before, you go into something because you're an expert at what you do.
Yeah.
And then actually you have to do legal bits, you've got to do customer service.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the point where I realised that you actually can't do everything. If people are better at it than you, which obviously they're way better at that kind of thing, just to ask for help. And don't be afraid to ask for help from, whether it be something like that or whether it be something else. If people are good at it, then kind of ask for help or advice, because you physically can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble like I nearly did.
One of my friends who started a brand, she always said, lean on your contacts. And
Yeah.
she said that people are happy to help each other. Is that something that you've found as well?
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's up for helping. You also get the other side where people think they're helping and they're just really not helping. You get a lot of people who would say, you have everything from, you should do women's wear, which obviously that's something in itself. You should do kids wear, stuff for pets. You should start doing interiors. Everything. And you just you're like, yeah, I'll think about it. And you just think,
Yeah. Yeah, it is hard because sometimes it's opinions. And also, I think sometimes when people say that, I know that they say it with the best intention.
Yeah.
But they don't realise everything else that goes into the back of doing something like
Yeah.
that as well.
Well, people might say, because I'm not physically on anything, like social media wise or anything. And people are always like, you need to be in front. It's not working. There's never in a million years I'm going to get in front of doing Instagram videos or anything like that. It's just not the way I am.
You don't need to. You're
No,
a fashion
exactly.
brand.
Yeah.
And how many fashion designers are coming in front of their brands and speaking through all the clothes? Not all of them.
No, exactly. There's lots of people that want to help, and then there's also the people who kind of are constantly throwing stuff at you that you should be doing this, should be doing that. And you think there's enough other stuff to be doing.
What does quality mean to you when it comes to clothes?
With a lot of the product, I feel one of the main essences is the design. I feel like there's so much longevity and sustainability in good design, because something could be made from recycled fabrics and materials, which is all well and good and something that I'm trying to do. But if the design's not great, then it's always going to get ultimately thrown away anyway. Especially at the moment, the power of the quality is in the design of the product. For me, anyway, the simplicity of the product. There's nothing too crazy about it. There's no freaking mesh or buttons or anything like that. Randomly that just you're a bit like, oh, I really like it, but I wish it didn't have that. I try to avoid that at all costs. Like I spoke about earlier, the fabric mill that I use based in West Yorkshire, they've been making moleskin corduroy fabrics since the late 1800s. I did a pop-up in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, a denim fair, where I was presenting the jackets, and this old Dutch guy came over and he just held the jacket with his eyes closed and said, "It even feels English."
Really?
And that's something that you can really get from the fabric alone.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
What good feedback.
Yeah.
I do think that with Raker, because with my jumper that I have, every time I wash it, the quality of the fabric just stays. And because it has that kind of boucle finish to it, where it's not super perfect, straight knit, I think that wears really well as well.
A lot of the materials are, you can wash them, which with kind of a lot of 100% wool, that's another one of the things that you constantly open yourself up to people kind of giving you criticism, which is fine. But they might say, oh, there's no wool content. I am making a wool collection at the moment, but there's so much to it, and there's so much development that goes into it. And there's so much testing. You have to look for muzzle-free farms. It has to all be eco-friendly. You can't just say, oh, there's wool in it, because the wool itself has to come from, like a
Responsibly
sourced place. There's all the testing and washing with wool. And like you say, with the knitwear at the moment, there's longevity in you can wash it and keep it for a long time, whereas with any wool garments, the minute you've kind of shrank it, then it's gone forever, isn't it? Or it's got moth holes in it or anything like that. So with a lot of the products, as much as like the design itself is straightforward, I try to keep the design detail in the texture or the feel of it.
You've woven it through the whole product, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people don't think, they'll just think, oh, wool's good, so like I want 100% wool jumper, but they might not think of the longevity like you have. And also, what people might not realise is how expensive wool is as well. So to have an affordable option and then to also have one that's a bit more higher price.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that makes sense. There's so much more that goes into it, isn't there, than just that surface level?
Yeah, so much. I think that's the thing, it's like the development of product. I've just brought out a summer collection, which I put out yesterday, but that took maybe 8 months, I feel, from first getting it going until it got delivered. I mean, I was trying to get it out for the end of April, so we're beginning of July. So
I never even thought about what you mentioned earlier about how when you're working with certain UK factories, you can only work with them at quieter times.
Yeah.
The lead time for everything must be ages.
Yeah, and then you try to time it in with getting it photographed and all the planning and preparation for that. Nothing ever is really on time, which obviously when you're doing it for yourself, you get away with it a lot more.
Yeah.
But I always try to set a rough deadline that I'll try and have it ready by, but everything always just takes so much longer because you just never know what the issues might be. Like in this case with the t-shirts, I never got the wash care labels. So I had everything ready to go, but there was no wash care labels.
Oh no.
Factory couldn't finish making everything, and then just had to wait for a few weeks while they got made. So there's little things like that which are super annoying, but there's literally nothing you can do.
How do you find organising your time now that you're running your own brand?
I'm the most unorganised person in the world, so
am I, as
Yeah.
we know.
Yeah, it's just difficult, but you just have to try and do your best, really.
Because you're juggling also being a dad and working from home.
Yeah.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, yeah. And then also, the thing which I'm trying to work on more is working way more in advance, which isn't really working.
No, we're getting there. We're fumbling through, aren't we?
Exactly. I'm fortunate as well. I don't have to release a whole collection at once. I can just do things as and when they're ready, which is another great thing. Now I'll carry on like that. It's all the admin and the emails and stuff like that, which you try to keep on top of, but it's difficult.
You only learn from doing it as well, because you could sit and wait for the perfect time. But that's never going to come. So you're learning, you're doing it, you're figuring out your processes.
Yeah. One day at a time.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when you send something out into the world, it's as polished as you could get it, but no one sees all that other time that you sat stressed trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think the one thing which I always find fascinating is you think that there's something that will sell, and it's the thing that you never expected to sell, which
really
sells the most. Yeah.
What has it been for you?
I have like a yellow and navy kind of boucle stripe, which I thought I'll put something a little bit leery in the collection, and then it's there, and if people like it, then some people might buy it. But then that's the thing that sells the most, which is crazy.
Actually, I did see someone, I don't know if they were a podcaster or a foodie chef or something.
Oh yeah, George Egg. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, because he just popped up in my timeline, and then I was like, oh, I need to tag Raker in that.
Yeah.
And he looked really cool in his jumper. I knew straight away that was Raker, from the stripes, and I was like, is either Raker or someone's really ripped you off?
It's crazy, really. Especially someone might send me a picture saying, I've just seen someone in a pub or something like that, and they're wearing this, and the best thing, really.
I always get that, even with this, when someone tells me that they've been listening to my podcast or they know who I am. It's so nice. I think people don't realise how much those little messages really keep you going.
Yeah. You do get a lot of people who'll send you a message, or, you know, people send you a picture of them wearing it or stuff like that, which is nice.
It's that real aspect, isn't it? And also what you mentioned about how people are messaging you saying that they've been looking for a jumper like this for years. That is so sweet.
Yeah.
And I bet that just makes you feel like everything you've done has been for a reason.
Yeah. Well, there's one guy, he actually lives not too far from here. So when I was taking some orders to the post office once, I was like, I'll just take it to him. I took it to him, knocked on the door, and I think he was like, who's this guy? I was like, I've just come to deliver your Raker order. He's like, is it your brand? I said, yeah. And he went, just come here.
Oh,
He's like, I've been looking for one of these jumpers for years.
that's so sweet.
And I was like, well, yeah, you know, here you go, and I'm hand delivering it. He was like, honestly, thank you so much. I was like, no worries.
What a personal service.
Yeah,
I love
I know.
it.
I mean, I do think people find it a bit weird, so I don't do it very often. But,
I think it's so cute. I'd be like, whoa, the founder of the brand is at my doorstep.
yeah, it is nice, but I do think sometimes it might get a bit much for people. But I feel like that's the other thing, like, when you work for other brands, you feel so removed from the customer, especially because I'm obviously such a small brand and you're working with limited resources. When you're working for other brands and they're throwing out crazy numbers like, this is the sales for this quarter, or this is sales for this year, it's such high numbers that it just like doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's like it's not real.
It's so numbers based as well, isn't it? Like, there's no qualitative feedback. It's all just like money, money, money. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so dictated to by merchandising and what's selling and what's not. But I suppose when you get that big, maybe that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Like, you can't just be like, oh, Alan down the road loved this jumper, let's make some more of that.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you're close to the customer.
Yeah, it is nice. And I do all the customer service. It was personal because you reply, and you reply in like real time rather than like, we'll get back to you in 5 to 10 working days or whatever. One of the things which stresses me out the most, which is kind of totally out of your hands, is that you'll send it and then it goes missing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, where is it? And you're like, I've sent you it and here's the tracking thing. It happened recently, actually, where a guy emailed me to say, basically, where is it? Looked online and it said it had been delivered. And then he left me a negative Trustpilot review. I was like, oh, God, he's like, I'm going to have to fight the situation. Sent him all the proof of everything. And then it had been delivered, but they left it behind his bin outside his house. So I basically said to him, you know, like, obviously it's out of my hands and, you know, I'm a small independent business and trying to get everything going. Would you mind removing the Trustpilot review that's negative? Yeah, obviously he kept it on.
What? So Even though it's not your fault either?
Yeah, it's not my fault. So you do meet, there is people like that that don't help.
Yeah. Well, don't believe the Trustpilot review. I've got a story for you about my Raker jumper that you probably don't know.
Okay.
But you know how I bought the Raker jumper and then you just gave it to me for free?
Yeah.
And I loved it so much. And I somehow lost it. I don't know where. It was really sad. And like, I looked everywhere for it. I looked back at my parents' house. I looked at mine and Sean's place.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. And then for Christmas, Sean was like, oh, what do you want? And I was like, I really want my Raker jumper back, like literally exactly the same jumper. So he ordered it for me.
No way.
Because I was just like, I really want that jumper. I'd only managed to wear it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But now that I've got this one, I wear it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
I know. I didn't want to tell you because obviously the first time you just refunded me the money. So I didn't want to tell you that I was ordering it again. So I'll keep it on the DL.
It's so funny you say that because I remember an order came for that jumper and it said Sean.
Oh, bleep out his name.
Stockport.
Yeah.
And I was like, said to Abby, is this Sean? And then I think.
Like, you wouldn't know his last name
I don't know.
either, yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
So that must have been it.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That's so funny that you remember that too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. You also recognise, you know, like some people will buy things and you start to recognise their customer name or anything like that. So that's quite nice.
When I did my interview with Natasha, who's the founder of Roop, who makes these furokushi bags, she was saying that she recognises her customers that come through, and when they order quite a bit, then she'll send them little gifts in the post and stuff. It's really sweet.
Yeah, really nice.
And it's nice that when you're a small brand, you can see that. Yeah. It's like a loyalty scheme, but without it being...
Yeah.
Like
sketchy.
Yeah. Sketchy or like too regimented. Okay, are you ready for rapid fire question round? Favorite piece of clothing that you own that isn't Raker?
I had a denim, like a workwear Lee jacket, which had 2 pockets on the front, and I bought it from £1 from the Northern Quarter Market.
Wow.
And I wore it so much, and it doesn't fit me anymore. But I can't throw it away.
Give it to Herbie.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea actually, because I just can't part with it.
Yeah.
So it's probably that.
Oh, I love that. Dream collaboration.
To Martins.
I literally knew you were going to say that before you said it. Yeah, that would actually be such a cool collab.
One day, hopefully.
Yeah, get that in the works. Anyone who's from Dr. Martens. I know what you're going to say, but London, New York, or Paris?
Let's go New York.
Oh, you surprised me. I thought you were going to say London.
No, I used to work there a little bit when I was working for Tommy Hilfiger.
Nice.
And I always thought, don't know, there's just something different about it.
Who's your style icon, past or present?
Andrew Weatherall.
Who's that?
He was like a late acid house DJ. Passed away a few years ago. But yeah, I really liked his style, but also his outlook on life and his music, obviously.
What was his outlook on life?
Well, to be honest, he was into a lot of stuff that I was into, which was kind of records, books, an interesting like really random shit like psychogeography and weird stuff like that. So probably him.
What the heck is psychogeography?
Oh, jeez. It's like where if something happens in a particular place, people are drawn to those kind of places, or like a music venue or anything like that, where you can kind of go into somewhere and you can feel that something happens there.
Oh, wow.
That kind of thing.
I've never heard of it.
I'd have a chat with him
Yeah.
if I could. Dressed like him.
Just like him. I'd love to learn more about psychogeography. If there's any experts, let us know, because I want to know more about it. What's one thing in menswear that you think is underrated?
Style.
Like, do you mean there is more style in menswear, but people don't see it?
I feel like streetwear is such a thing now, and there's so much other stuff that people could wear, and people could have their own style rather than just look the same.
I think now men are getting more into fashion, but do you think when it was younger, it felt like something you couldn't be into because it was too girly?
Yeah. When I was younger, I always really wanted to do it, and then I really didn't know where to go with it or who to speak to or anything. And then it was only while I was still at school, I think, I went to London College of Fashion Open Day, and I realised that there's a lot of people here who really know what they're doing. So I need to kind of really start kind of getting my shit together a bit. So I started doing like classes out of school, like entry sewing lessons and making things, did life drawing. Then I did a foundation art degree after school before uni, just to get into uni. I was doing all these things, trying to figure it out for myself how to get doing it. But at the same time, you would get, especially because I had like bleached blonde hair back then, it's probably dressed a bit more wacky, but then, people would shout stuff at you. It was just different times,
I know, as much as I love the North, and I'm not saying this is just a Northern thing, it might just be from where we're from, but it always felt like if you were an individual growing up, that was seen as a negative thing.
Like a bit weird.
Individuality wasn't praised,
Definitely. Here's for the weirdos.
But I think things are changing now.
Yeah, definitely they are.
Okay. What's one song that would be on the Raker Runway playlist?
Probably a song I heard the other day. There's a song by a band called Get Down Services. The song's called Dog Dribble. Check it out.
We'll have to put it on somehow.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. Dog Dribble. I like that.
Yeah.